I think that making sure that things don't backfire, in my experience, the single thing that makes people, and I experience this in my own self, not just in the people I work with, is that the single thing that makes people push away this information is when it brings up feelings that are not acknowledged. That they get more and more upset, more and more anxious, and the speaker is like speaking calmly as if they don't also live on Earth. And it's coming at them, and there's been no outlet given for that response. That is my theory and so everything about how I open a climate conversation in a congregation is designed to create a container, a sanctuary in which those feelings as they come up are honored and attended to and shared. You're not alone with it. So first of all, I just wanted to say some of my top I should say, I figured this out in the field, and I also have learned a lot from Dr. Catherine Hayhoe, who is one of my heroes of climate communication, and I recommend looking up her TED Talk as well. Some of this reflects her teachings. So choose words that reiterate the mechanism, because there might be somebody out there who's not familiar or not sure, and that have words that have the right connotations. So I always say heat trapping climate pollution. I say that to reiterate the mechanism. Heat trapping climate pollution, and I also avoid words like greenhouse or gases. I think both of greenhouses are kind of nice. Emissions and gases to me are both words that have kind of vague and not potent feelings associated with them. But pollution, people intuitively understand what pollution is. So I say, our burning fossil fuels for electricity, where I also emphasize combustion. I think burning, we have to, there's people really trying to suggest that burning natural gas, or what they call natural gas, is somehow consistent with a livable climate, which it's not. So I really emphasize more and more combustion being the problem. Burning fossil fuels for electricity and other uses is pouring heat trapping climate pollution into our atmosphere, causing our Earth to warm. Those are all words I choose with intention. I ask people, what are some of the things you've heard could happen if we don't do anything about this, if we continue to pour heat trapping climate pollution into our atmosphere, causing our Earth to warm? I don't say the terrible things from the front of the room as a guest in the community. I ask people in their own congregation, the people they see every week, the people they trust their community, to raise their hands. And if there's one guy, that's one way, like if there's one guy in the back of the room who's not sure about climate science from other sources or whatever, he hears one person after another in his own community say, I've heard that it will drive refugees. I've heard that it will, there'll be a lot of extinction of animals. I've heard that sea level rise. Like they say that, and then, so that comes diffusing the sources of the information, so it's not coming from me and coming from the front of the room and coming from a guest. Showing on my face that I feel the same, like I feel the feelings too. So people say, I've heard that, a lot of species might be driven to extinction. And I say, yeah, it's like so hard to take into your heart. We're talking about like a third or half of all the plants and all the animals might not be able to adapt rapidly enough in a warming climate. But I also feel like I'm so intentional about showing them on my face that I am feeling the grief and intensity and horror of this with them. Even if especially if they're having those, thoughts, if they're thinking about this for the first time. So even though I've been at this for 16 years, I just feel like this is the sacred moment where I have to, if I can't meet the feelings, it won't work. And then when we get to like the most intensity that people can deal with, which is, for me, is when I talk about the way this is playing out around the world and the people experiencing like mosquito-borne disease and some of the first harms of a warming climate are precisely those who did the least to contribute to this industrialization and like benefited the least from all this carbon pollution. And now there are outbreaks of dengue fever and malaria in parts of the world where Bill McKibben has a quote about how this, we should think of ourselves as responsible. We in the United States, who have produced 25% of the historic climate pollution, should think of like 25% of those those suffering from these outbreaks of disease as on us. Like more, he calls it, the epidemiology isn't perfect, but the moral math works for me. So that's usually the moment when people have stopped breathing in the room and it's really intense. And I just, in that moment, I say, all right, take a deep breath, turn to a neighbor, and then I ask Katharine Hayhoe's question, why does climate change matter to you? Which is a question I learned from her. And the energy in the room is transformed as people turn to a neighbor and share what about what I talked about touched them. And it also is practicing making those conversations happen when people often avoid them. So anyway, those are some of the ways that I get us to a place. The conversation after we come back from that pair check-in is one that is ready to talk about what we can do, how we can work together, how we can be in community, how we can join with other faith communities and other people who are part of a climate movement across our region and across the world. But if you have to hold that space with so much tenderness all the way to that moment, and then hold some space for people to really share with each other.